Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and today I thought I'd talk a little bit about Mechty because someone did ask about it in my last video yesterday on Klukai. Now, I don't want to go completely into her kit in depth at this point. Mechty is rumored to be the unit that will come after Klukai, and that was coming from not only leaks, but we also have the one little piece of evidence which was in-game before Cinerisi was announced. We did see that Cinerisi, Klukai, and Mechty had their emotes put in the game. They were grayed out because you couldn't access, you couldn't get the character to actually use them. But they were added in the game, and then we had Cinerisi come out, and now we're almost certainly going to get Klukai next, and that would leave Mechty to come after Klukai. And it makes sense to do Mechty after Klukai because Mechty really amplifies Klukai's capabilities when she comes out. And we're going to look at that kind of right here. Now, we're not going to look at the whole kit, but the biggest thing, and I mentioned or talked about it a little bit on the last video about Klukai, and that is Mechty brings in this buff right here. And this is the thing I love to see on my support characters, is just being able to change how other characters function completely. Now, hers is kind of restrictive. It's really only, at this point, it only really works with Parita, but there's the potential it can work with future units. And future units that it works with are going to work really well for Klukai. And that is Nightmare increases the AoE damage and AoE support damage, but the big thing is it changes that AoE support damage type to Corrosion. Klukai wants Corrosion damage to be done to the enemies because she gets Confectance Index for every instance of Corrosion damage done. Then you have Parita, which can do multiple AoE support attacks, 6 at V0. Mechty now converts that to Corrosion damage, so you can see where that can really start to ramp up Klukai's capabilities. While Klukai is really good on her own, she's amazing with her core team of Mechty and Parita because of that capability. This is ultimate, like, you have all the other stuff in Mechty, which is really good. I mean, you have defensive capability, removing enemies' defenses, making them weaker and take more damage from Corrosion, all that great stuff that you have from a support character. But her biggest thing, in my opinion, is this converting to Corrosion damage. And that is the number one reason I'll say she's a must-pull. Everything else is great, but I wouldn't feel it as necessary if you couldn't convert Parita's damage type to Corrosion on her support actions, because they functionally wouldn't help Klukai as much as they do without that capability. Because the biggest thing she wants is not only the damage amp that she gets, but the ability to spam her ult, which requires that multiple instances of Corrosion damage. But that is kind of the big thing on her. You have all of her other stuff in here where you can do all kinds of damage amp to the enemies. But you have that right here on the passive at the start of battle. Mechty enters in recovery mode, which that's part of her recovery frenzy mode that activates other things regarding her. We'll talk about that when we actually get an announcement on her. But you have this big part where it applies Nightmare for all allies. That's the biggest thing. Now, if you get her V6, Nightmare becomes even bigger with the damage and stability stuff. Like, she's actually got a fairly decent kit all the way to V6 too. If you wanted to heavily invest in a strong Klukai, you get a V6 Klukai and then a V6 Mechty. But I wouldn't do that. It's completely unnecessary on her. But overall, that's what makes her great. And it's the same reason that we see other great units really good. Two of them being Vector and Springfield, because they add more functionalities to other teams. And Vector is that adding, if someone does burn burn support action, they can do it more times under Vector, 2 more times if you have her V1. Springfield adds the ability to gain Confectance Index in Hydro if they do an active Hydro attack with her V1. So adding capabilities to completely change the functionality of a character. And it's one reason I think Mechty is going to be more future-proof, because we're going to see AoE support damage on a unit at some point in the future. It could be 2 years from now. 2 years from now, they have a new unit that comes out that does AoE support damage. Guess who's valuable to that team if you want to bring them into the Corrosion fold? Mechty. Mechty's going to be great with them. Even if you're not using Klukai at that point, which I like Klukai. I'm going to be using Klukai for the rest of this game, pretty much. She's my favorite character so far in the Girls Frontline universe from everything I've seen. It's just going to be a great character for her, but also can work alongside Mechty and maybe other capabilities as they evolve the teams to do something outside of what their current rules are. And then we kind of see the same thing with like a Vector burn type team. You can have the same thing where if you can convert support actions on anybody to burn, Vector now amplifies that unit regardless. I mean, we've already talked about that when we had the mistranslation on the common key for, I forget who it was. I can't remember if it was Peri or whatever her name is, the shotgun fire burn lady. Those two, we had the mistranslation on the common key saying it converted support actions to burn. And holy crap, was there so much potential with multiple units where if you had that capability to actually bring them into the burn fold. The biggest one I liked was the Mosin Nagant one, where at V6, Mosin Nagant, if you have a unit with Lena's common key and then Mosin Nagant, you convert her support actions to burn, and now she can do like 4 burn, she can do 4 support actions alongside a QJ, alongside a Sharky. It would be insane with that kind of capability. So we could see something like that coming in the future. And it's kind of the same thing with Springfield. We already see Springfield works really well making Tololo a beast. Now, and then you have it also working extremely well with Nikita as well, which it almost seems like that's kind of the Hydros thing, though, is trying to gain that Confectance Index points, and Springfield gives that capability at V1. But we can see that maybe with a future unit that's able to convert damage to Hydro, because right now this is just the tip of the iceberg with this converting of AoE support damage to corrosion. I almost am certain we're going to see this in the future where units can change the damage type of other units in the team. And that's where you're going to really start to see units start to branch out and maybe get units that weren't as valuable get much more valuable in the future. Is this other unit can come in and bring them up, even if it's outside of their own element. But yeah, that was just a little bit of what I wanted to talk about here. Mechty is a unit that is coming up that to me is a must pull pretty much for everyone. I mean, everybody's going to get Klukai. But in the future, I think she's going to be a must-pull at some point when we get other units that can do AoE support damage. Unless you skip all units that do AoE support damage, then, yeah, I guess you could skip her at that point. But a great unit overall. One I will absolutely be pulling for my Klukai team, and I think most people should as well. Now, we'll go more into depth in all of her capabilities here in like a month and a half after Klukai comes out and we get an announcement that she's coming out, which I'm hoping is her after Klukai, because she's really going to be what brings Klukai even more to the fold. Klukai is already going to be good on her own, especially at V6, which I'm going to be doing, but Mechty is just going to make her even better. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.